Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be playing the extended demo for the Divine Speaker. This game is very close to my heart and I am very excited to be playing it today that it's actually made me a little bit nervous. We're going to be meeting one of my own characters within the game for the first time, and I could not be happier to finally see what he looks like within the game, and to get to play through those scenes and see how this game is shaping up, because I've been following it since it was first announced, and the people who make it are very good friends of mine now, and I'm just so happy for them and I'm so excited for this game. And let me tell you a little bit about it. The birth of a child heralds many things: change, adaptation, confusion, but most importantly, the judgment. A newly born child's first destination isn't its mother's arms, but the embrace of another, the Divine Speaker. The person tasked with determining a child's destiny, from the day they're born to the day they die. Follow alongside Rain, an orphan from the city of Aurelia Cavella, the only civilization on the planet, or so they're told. Abandoned for his poor destiny, they grew up thinking that his life would be plain and unexciting, and that was exactly how he liked it. However, all that changes when he's expelled from his home on a death sentence, cast out into the vast and dangerous forests that surround Aurelia Cavella. Rain must finally come to terms with the fact that there might be something else out there after all. And there's more to Aurelia Cavella than first meets the eye. A fantastical adventure with a large cast of interesting characters, mysteries, magical abilities, beings of unknown power, murder, and more await you in the Divine Speaker. This game is fully voiced, and it will be very long. I'm not sure how many parts I'll end up chopping this up into. We'll see how we go. I love this song so much. The music in this is beautiful. So, let us begin. If you've played the demo before, you'll have the option to start at the beginning of the demo or start from just the new content. I'm going to play through the entire thing. Show me the story from the beginning.
The birth of a child heralds many things: change, adaptation, confusion, but most importantly, the judgment. A newly born child's first destination isn't its mother's arms, but the embrace of another. The Divine Speaker, the person tasked with determining a child's destiny from the day they are born till the day they die. This destiny is determined by lottery. The Speaker's hand, guided by the forces above, always chooses the correct fate for the correct child. This judgment guides them on the path to eventually becoming the person they were always destined to be.
Rain, could we pretty please go play outside?
We promise to be back before it gets dark.
I quickly glance over in the matron's direction, and she gives me a short nod. I didn't really have the authority to tell them what they could do, but that never stopped them from coming to ask me. Oh well, I didn't mind. They knew I could never say no to them.
All right, but make sure to be back before sundown. And don't go anywhere close to the forest, okay?
Yay! Thank you, Rain! We promise we won't!
But why aren't we allowed to ever play there? Can we go when we're adults?
No, you can't.
No forest.
But why? It's not fair!
I let out a sigh, but felt a smile rising to my face. I couldn't help chuckling at their curiosity. They would ask the same question every time they wanted to go out and play.
Come over here and I'll explain it to you.
I walked over to the table at the far end of the hall. The top was littered with papers, children's books, and pencils. Buried among them was a map.
Look closely at this map while I explain. Our home, Aurelia Cavella, is surrounded on all sides by the forest.
Whenever you see a colored writing that you can highlight, you will find a journal entry that you can go in and read little tidbits about what those places are, and depending on what options you pick, they could change what it says about them. It's a really cool thing that's in this as well. They've put so many features in here, and it's so cool.
The forest is full of bad guys and dangerous animals. Do you know why?
Because the divine beings don't protect the outside land.
That's right. The beings above protect us while we are inside Aurelia Cavella. But that protection doesn't extend outside of our land.
That's rude.
No one can survive out there. That's why everyone lives here, where we can be safe and happy. I know it might seem unfair now, but you'll understand when you're older that we're just trying to protect you. There's just nothing out there to find. The forest goes on infinitely, with us right at the center.
Everyone in the entire world lives here?
Let's take the music down a little bit. Everything about this is so pretty. Such a pretty GUI. I guess some people might find it annoying to answer the same questions every day. Not me though. They're curious and I can't blame them. When I was their age, I asked exactly the same questions to the older kids.
That's right. That's the way it's always been.
But what's this place over there? Zuras?
She pointed to a place to the north of the city, with the name Azurus written underneath it on the map.
Ah, Azeros? I don't really know much about it, but once you get old, and not old like me, I mean ancient, the divine beings in the speaker reward you for your lifetime of serving them. All the elders go to live there alone in peace and relaxation. I hear it's pretty luxurious, but I've never been there.
This whole city
You can
is
only
so
go when you're called upon.
suspicious. The kids looked up at me, obviously interested in hearing more. There just wasn't much more to say. No one really knew what it was like there. You should be suspicious about that. The speaker tells us the luxuries of Azeros, and it makes us work all the more harder to one day get in there. That's all we know about it. Ugh. Shady.
Now go out and play before the sun starts setting.
They both scurry off to the door, jumping, running, and screaming the whole way. Ah, they really are cute. I'm so happy to have such a great family here. Tobias, Mia, all the others. They're like my brothers and sisters. Well, technically I don't have a real family, but they've always been more than enough. I was dumped on the side of a road as a baby and ended up here. I never knew my parents, so it's hard to be angry about it when growing up here has been so good.
Rain, may I speak with you for a moment?
I look up towards that voice that I knew well. The matron of my orphanage. A tough woman, but infinitely full of love. She's looked after me my entire life, along with dozens of other children.
Of course, ma'am. What do you need? I hope it was okay to let the children out to play for the day.
No, it's nothing about that. I'd just like to have a chat. You've been with us for a long time already. I found you in the gutters about 18 years ago today.
Has it been that long already? It's true that I should be coming of age about now, so she probably thinks it's time for me to move on.
Yes, it has been a long time. If you give me a few days, I'll say goodbye to the children and start packing up.
Ugh. Everything is so noisy today. It's been a challenge already just recording these 15 minutes of this. There's been dogs and birds and family. Very loud.
What? I think you misunderstand.
She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small envelope.
This is for you. Happy birthday. Go and get yourself something nice.
She smiled at me, so full of warmth, but it quickly changed to a scowl.
Also, don't think you're getting out of here anytime soon. I'd go out of my mind answering those questions every day.
She pushed the envelope into my hands and walked away, brusque as ever.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll head out and pick up the groceries you asked me to get earlier then. Be back soon.
The old heavy door groaned as I pushed against it. I stepped outside, breathing in the fresh air and enjoying the sunlight. The sun was high up in the sky. Whoopsie. And a nice breeze soared through the city. It was a beautiful day. But I couldn't help but notice that flowers that were in full bloom yesterday were already wilting. Maybe no one watered them this morning? I don't think it happens that quick.
Anyway,
I guess that must mean today's my birthday. It's not like I didn't realize it was coming up soon. It's not like I didn't realize it was coming up sometime soon, but it wasn't really at the front of my mind. It's never been a big deal to me. I looked closely at the envelope in my hands. White and simple. This is the first time I've ever been given a birthday present. I'm scared to open it. I almost want to leave it sealed. It's kind of scary being given something out of nowhere. Curiosity was beginning to get the better of me, though. Rain's biggest problem. Curiosity. It's always been a problem of mine.
okay.
At least he's
3,
aware.
2, 1, go!
I tore the seal open in one fell swoop.
Oh my. By the gods.
Got some dollar bills, y'all. Inside was 10 marks,
Let's...
which was more money than I'd had my entire life, and a letter addressed to me.
Let's see. Dear Rain.
Dear Rain, happy birthday, my dear. I'm sorry we couldn't afford much to give you, but I hope it's enough for you to get something you like. The kids have been saving up just for you.
Aw.
From the day I found you, I've always thought of you as a son. Now that you're of age, it won't be long until you will be matched up yourself and have your own children.
That sounds unpleasant.
Until that day, please stay with us at the orphanage. Both the children and I would be lost without you. I'm sure if your parents saw you now, they would be proud of you, just like I am. Yours, Matron Arala.
I couldn't stop myself. My eyes welled up instantly and overflowed all over the letter. If I click that, it'll show you what the letter was. You can go back and you can read up on the lore and other things that you've discovered.
Thank you.
They saved all this just for me. I can't let them down. I'll go buy something amazing to share with them. With determination, I started on my way to the marketplace. Envelope and Murray? Envelope and money buried in my clothes. The markets were just past the town square, on the west side of Aurelia Cavella. The town square was where new children came for their judgment, and where the speaker made his proclamations.
The beings above sing praise for the contributions you have given to our humble home. Likewise, they implore you to continue giving your lives over to them, for they provide you with protection from the evils lurking inside the forest.
Oh, do they now?
Huh.
Sounds
Looks like the divine
suspicious.
speaker is declaring something right now.
Oopsie. He was dressed head to toe in white and gold, the definition of elegance in his ceremonial gown. His long, silvery white hair reached down his back neatly.
I understand your frustrations about our failed crops,
Face.
but do not worry yourselves, for the beings above have a reason for everything. Soon,
Yes, Lord
Oopsie.
Speaker!
Yes, Lord Speaker! The failed crops? I think I heard a little about that situation from the matron. It seemed this was the first time in hundreds of years, that they had failed this badly. And there's some worry about whether it'll be enough or not this winter.
Yes, Lord Speaker.
You're a bit late! Before I knew it, I was already in the crowd, chanting along with the other residents. The eloquent and beautiful way he spoke was almost hypnotizing. The most highly respected person in all of Aurelia Cavella, second only to the gods. Just being in his presence was amazing. The whole time he spoke, the crowd stood mesmerized. I was so immersed, I didn't even notice he was already nearly finished.
in due time, all of you shall be rewarded with the freedom that Azeros brings. With this in mind, I hope you will continue your offerings and duties. Thank you.
You can't see my face, but I'm frowning at him. Applause exploded out from the crowd as he finished his speech. Smiling, he waved and cast his eyes around the crowd. Oh, he's so pretty though, look at him. I waved and cheered along with the crowd before his eyes met mine. Almost instantly, a shock ran through my body. The shock changed to heat, and the heat changed to burning. Before I knew it, I crumpled to the ground, gasping for air. But it felt like my lungs were on fire. Every breath burned, my insides even more. Everyone around was watching me, but the worst of all was his eyes, the speaker's. I could still feel his eyes boring into me, as if he could see everything. Even secrets you kept in the deepest part of your soul. I have to escape from them, now! I forced myself back to my feet, ran as fast as I could and ducked into a nearby alleyway. I could feel the world around me getting darker, blurrier. I fell to the ground in a fetal position, sobbing. Abruptly, the pain started to move. It concentrated itself into my left arm, and with the force of all my previous pain put together,
Anyone, please.
I shuddered, clutched my arm, and enduring the scalding pain before before my vision went black.
You must protect, awaken, destiny, judgment.
Thanks. Useful. Good talk. I don't know if you heard that, but my grandma just sneezed. It was very loud through my headphones. I blinked a few times, trying to work out where I was. The darkness that surrounded my vision wore off slowly as I sat up.
That's right. I was in the town square, listening to the speaker.
Wait, did I collapse here? I quickly checked over my body. The pain was completely gone.
Huh? What? What is this?
When I looked closer, I noticed something that hadn't been there before. Some kind of strange markings were running down my arm. It's not a language I've ever seen before. My first instinct was to try and scratch them off, but it's like it was branded onto my skin. It wasn't going anywhere.
I have to get back to the orphanage. They won't know where I am.
When I left, the sun was still high in the sky, but now it's already night. How long have I been out? I stood up slowly, holding onto the wall for balance.
Ugh.
The burning sensation was gone, and all I was left with was a sore body. It must be from collapsing onto the ground.
Where am I? I guess I'll head back the way I came.
Through the thick darkness, I followed the alleyway back the way I came, desperate for all this to be a dream. After a little searching, I somehow found my way back to the town square. A few people buzzed about, doing last-minute shopping or chatting with each other. I clutched my branded arm close to my chest, making sure to keep it out of view. Didn't you just pull your sleeves down? Didn't you pull your sleeves down? Whoop, I don't know what I'd do if they saw it. I don't even know what it is. I couldn't help glancing around nervously like some kind of thief worried about getting busted. That's why I didn't notice when I ran headlong into someone and got knocked off my feet.
Ouch!
I looked up at the person standing over me. He was a tall, lean man, probably in his 20s, with dark red hair that reached down his back and a serious look on his face.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, he is so gorgeous. Look at him, those pretty blue eyes. He stood there for a moment, just watching me. His gaze made me nervous. It was like a snake sizing up its prey. That's when I noticed he wasn't staring. That's when I noticed it wasn't me he was staring at, but my arm. I instinctively clutched my arm to my chest.
Is this where you usually spend your time bumping into people, or do you have a few favorite spots?
That voice.
What? No. I don't usually bump.
Ah, I guess this is a privilege then. I feel lucky.
He has such a smart mouth. My mouth just kind of hung open. What's this guy's problem? I don't think I've ever met someone so rude.
I'm very sorry for running into you. I was just trying to get home quickly, too.
To hide whatever that is on your arm?
Again, all I could do was look at him in shock. We stared at each other for a moment before he held his hand out to me.
Let me help you up, if you stay down there long enough, people will start to think you're part of the scenery.
Look at all the scars. Where'd you get those scars? Who are you? What are you doing? Just look at him though. Of course, I'm going to take his hand. We could stand up by ourselves, but no, we're not going to do that. Take his hand. I hesitated for a split second before grabbing his hand gently. He pulled me to my feet and I could finally see just how tall he was.
Thank you.
Just try not to make a habit of looking so sketchy. Who knows what kind of people you'll attract?
You're dressed like that and you're calling him sketchy? The smirk on his face when he said that was unnerving. I think I should get out of here quick.
Of course. I should really be heading off now. I'm late. Again, I'm very sorry for the commotion I caused.
Fancy you calling anyone sketchy? He's got knives! He has knives on his thigh and he's telling Rain that he's sketchy. Wow. Airplane. I quickly turned to leave. This guy is the last person I want to be wasting my time on.
Wait a second. I know something about the markings on your arm.
I whirled around to face him again, faster than I've ever moved before.
You do?
Whoops.
I mean, you do? What do you know about it?
Yeah, that's convincing.
I know the speaker keeps tomes written with the same markings in his personal archive.
How do you know that?
Actually allowing visitors, but tonight only.
You sure he is?
Too bad you seem so busy. This might be the last time it's ever open to the public. Anyway,
First and last.
good night.
The red-haired man turned around and slipped off into the shadows. I was left with his words just hanging in the air.
I guess one more slight detour wouldn't hurt. I'm already late as it
You
is.
would believe that! Oh, surely you would at least try to confirm it in some other way. I bite my lip, thinking hard on his words. There's no way I could miss this chance. If it's the only way to find out what these markings mean, then... Determined, I turned towards the direction of the speaker's archives. It took a while to cross the town to the speaker's palace. It was large, but mostly empty, seeing as he was the only resident. Ooh. Lonely boy. This is the first time I've ever heard of anyone being allowed in his personal archives, though. I think even the Lord has restricted access. Maybe this is my lucky day after all? I walked to the door and knocked lightly.
Hello? Speaker? Are you home?
Hey, yo, speaker, open up! When I knocked, the door swung open. It was already unlocked and I could see light from inside.
I guess he's probably already in there, showing the archives to other people.
Yeah, sure.
Excuse me.
It's definitely what he's doing. I opened the door further and followed a corridor down another door that was slightly ajar. When I entered the room, I almost toppled over in astonishment. Thankfully I didn't, since that would have been the third time I fell over in a single day. Oh, Rain. Look at this background though. The art in this game is absolutely beautiful. Bookshelves lined the walls, going up to the ceiling. Tomes and documents littered every surface, and the hazy light the candles flickered all over only furthered my amazement. It was beautiful. Never in my life had I seen this many books. I walked in further, feeling the spines with my fingers and smelling the musty scent in the room. No, I'm touching all these books. Various books littered the tabletop in the center of the room. I walked closer to them. I read some of the titles: A Brief History, Sid Kaim, Bloodlines. There were thousands of books here I could love to read. Too bad he's only allowing visitors for a single day. I picked up the first book, A Brief History. I flicked through it slowly, reading a few sentences of each page. It looked like some pages were missing. It would jump from talking about the palace being built to the animals that inhabit our land.
Let's see. Foundation? The kingdom of Aurelia Cavella was founded by Prince Shion on the second eve of Augustus.
Interesting. I've never heard of who first founded our kingdom. This book must be really old if it's talking about that. I put the first book back in its place and moved on to Sidcaeum. It was different to the other books, a journal. When I opened it, I found that every page was covered in black ink, making it unreadable. Redacted! It looks like someone had a bit of an accident with this one and an inkwell. Or was it on purpose? Bloodlines was next. I picked it up from the pile. I opened it to the middle. The name should have given me a clue, honestly. It was some kind of record of births for what looked like a high-class bloodline. On this page, the bloodline started with King Shion of Sidcaeum 10XX and moved down to more King Shion, and moved down to more recent times. It ended with Prince Caspian.
I keep reading about this Sidcaeum. I wonder what it means.
Oh, whoopsie.
I keep reading about this Sidcaeum. I wonder what it means. Wait a second.
Prince Shion was the founder of our city, right? That must mean that this is the royal bloodline, but why does it only start 500 years ago? Aurelia Cavella has always been here for thousands of years. There must be a mistake here, surely. People had to live somewhere before then, and everyone knows there isn't anywhere inhabitable outside of our protected lands. Yeah, sure there isn't. There's only here and the forest. I flicked the pages over to the next one. The page was filled in strange markings, in a script I'd never read before. I hurriedly pulled up my sleeve to compare them and found matching characters. The layout was similar to that of the royal blood, so it must be a list of names, but who?
It looks like the last person added to this list was 19 years ago.
So absorbed in trying to work out what that meant, I didn't hear the sound of someone opening the door behind me.
Well, well, well. An intruder in my archives?
Oh, an intruder. Guess it wasn't open.
But Mr. Speaker, you opened the doors tonight.
I whipped around to face the voice. It was none other than the speaker himself. I'd never seen him up close. I hid the book instinctively inside my cloak. You gonna nick his book? I dropped to one knee in front of him out of respect.
Thank you so much for having the archives open today. I've never seen so many books.
Excuse me? Having the archives open?
So what? He looked at me with visible confusion on his face.
That's right. The man in the town square. He told me.
Wait, what? I definitely heard him right. He said it was open to everyone. Then why does the speaker look like he knows nothing about it? Wow, weird man in the town square lied?
I'm not sure who told you what, but my archives are off limits to all but myself.
Behind him, I could see guards appearing from every direction.
Trespassing in a restricted zone is an act of treachery. The only punishment fit for someone betraying their own home is death.
Oh, rip. I could feel my stomach drop when he said death. Wow. Death? I've never heard of someone being sentenced to death. No, this is all wrong.
No, wait! Please! I'm not betraying! I just wanted to read.
I don't know what your intentions were coming here, but I must act in the best interest of both our residents and the gods. Guards, take him.
Now wait there just a minute, Speaker.
I could see someone pushing through all the guards, making their way to the front of the crowd. It was our Lord, who works with the Speaker to uphold our lands.
We're not equipped to suddenly have a public execution, Sir Speaker. We haven't needed one in years. In this case, I think it would be best to exile him. Being out there in the forest is a death sentence anyway.
My heart dropped even further. I thought he had come to my rescue, but what he suggested was worse than death. No one in my lifetime had been exiled. The things you would endure out there would be much nastier than a quick hanging you would get here.
Please!
Nice.
I didn't mean.
Silence.
He stood in front of me, his icy eyes digging into my soul. I couldn't help but think about earlier. In the town square when our eyes met, I flinched away from his gaze.
Perhaps
Yeah,
you're
what-
right.
What did he do
Why
to him?
dirty our own land with the blood of a criminal
Oh, don't make that
when
angry
we can
face.
let nature take care of it for us?
You don't sound nearly angry enough to be making that face.
Guards, take his arms. I'll escort him to the forest's edge.
I thought he would cut off the rock. For a second there, when he said take his arms, my brain was like, remove them, like take them away from him. Like that's a bit extreme. Both my arms were seized by the burly guards. There was no hope of escaping. All I could do was follow behind the Speaker, being pushed from behind the entire way. I hung my head in shame as I was paraded through the town. I could see faces peering at me from windows everywhere I went. All I could do was look at the ground. Who could blame them? I would watch too.
Release him. You may go. I will handle this from here.
The two guards saluted before marching off back into town. Once we couldn't see their backs anymore, he spoke.
I don't know why you would do what you did. Nevertheless, you must now live with the consequences. This might seem unfair. It would be best for you to learn just how unfair this world can be, though.
Oh, you look so sad. Don't make that face at me. You're trying to kill him. Don't make that face. You don't get to make that face. I looked up into his face. I couldn't tell what he was thinking at all, but I was Now is not the time to be thinking about how pretty he is. He's trying to kill you. He reached out and lightly caressed my chin with his fingertips. Up close, his long eyelashes trembled in the wind. They're trembling. And he looked almost ethereal, like he himself was one of the beings above.
You look just like your father did.
Say what now? At that, he released my face and turned to leave.
Run. Run and don't look back. Just like he did.
Well, that was cryptic. Come back. His back slowly disappeared into town. I thought about going back the same way, hiding at the orphanage, but everyone just saw me being marched through town like that. There was no other choice. Oh my god, those dogs. I had to leave. with only the clothes in my bag, the envelope from the matron, the book I had stolen accidentally from the speaker. Yeah, take that. And my regret. You may have kicked me out, but I got your book. A book he can't read. I ran. I ran like I'd never run before. It felt like my heart would burst out of my chest at any second, and my lungs burnt with every breath. Muscles I didn't even know I had ached. Even when I thought I couldn't go any further, I kept running. Oh my god. I do apologize for the dogs. There's nothing I can do about them, sadly. When I finally collapsed, all I could see was trees and darkness in all directions. I was completely lost. Yeah, okay. No. It just keeps going. I laid down on my back and caught my breath. What can I do now? I've lost everything. No home to return to. No family. What will everyone at the orphanage think when they find out? Will they be disappointed? Angry? Feel like they've wasted their money? Will they think I've abandoned them? Betrayed them? A million thoughts ran through my head at once. Did they? I took a deep breath of fresh forest air and calmed my thoughts. It was only then that I realized the situation I was in. Here I was, sprawled out on the forest floor, alone, at night. I suddenly picked up on all the things I hadn't noticed before. A scratching sound, bushes rustling, a howling from somewhere in the distance. Nah, it's just the dogs next door. Don't worry about it. She'll be right. The wind picked up and whipped my hair around my face, only adding to the sudden terror that had struck my heart. All the stories I had been told since childhood about venturing outside of Aurelia Cavella hit me. Oh my gosh. People don't know how to just close a door in this household. Slam only. No shut, only slam. In fact, paper-thin walls. I hadn't only heard of them, I'd repeated the same ones to the children time and time again. Nobody left the confines of Aurelia Cavella. The forest was a dangerous place that spread to the far corners of the planet, and only by the protection of the beings above had we lived in peace for so long. Have you, though? If no one's gone out, how do you know? Just because they tell you, or has someone come back and been like, nope, bad out there? Which means that it couldn't be that dangerous if people can come back. Seems like a hoax. Fake news. I strained my eyes, trying to look into the darkness that surrounded me. Finally, I dragged myself up from the forest floor. I pulled my coat tighter around myself for security and nervously checked that I still had all of my belongings before turning back the way I came. Maybe if I stay close to the city lights, it'll scare away any danger.
It was this way, right? Or this way?
Oh, whoopsie. No matter which direction I turned to face, the trees looked the same, and from every angle, I could hear strange noises.
Oh, come on. Which way? Which way?
Rain's voice actor is just perfect for him as well. Like, the cast is really, really good. I whipped my head from left to right before dropping my head into my hands. I unconsciously let out a sigh.
It's hopeless.
Once again, I was surrounded by the sounds of the forest and the feeling of the unknown. Who knew it could be this scary? An eerie feeling gripped my heart. I could feel eyes on me.
No, I must be imagining it.
Probably not. Suddenly, it was quiet. All I could hear was my own heartbeat, quickening by the second. I had to get out of here. With no sense of direction, I just ran. Ran until I couldn't run anymore. Back to the huffing. Oh, it was shorter this time. No matter where I went, everything looked the same. The trees started to blend together in my eyes, becoming one entity. Oh, that sounds terrifying. And this whole thing, I listened to this podcast called Ghoul Intentions, and this entire thing with the woods, all I have in my head is Jamie Markey saying, "Fuck the woods." I collapsed onto the ground and crawled backwards until my body hit a tree. Just the feeling of having something behind me made me feel more secure. I buried myself into its huge roots. I could barely make out my hand in front of my face in the pitch black darkness. The night was freezing. I brought my knees up to my chest, hugging in tightly to try and get some warmth. I felt the letter I had hidden in my clothes.
I'm sorry.
With the letter clutched close to my heart, I shut my eyes to try and escape from the dangers of reality.
Destined child. False prophecy. Speak. Awaken.
I woke with a start.
What was with that dream? I feel like that's not the first time either.
Everything felt kind of hazy, and I could barely recall what it was about. I uncurled my body from the forest floor and started to take notice of my surroundings. Rays of bright light shone between the tree branches, bringing in a slight warmth to my face. It felt nice after the cold wind from last night. The air felt crisp, which must be a sign it's still early.
What?
When I finally started looking around me, I noticed something strange. I was surrounded by beautiful flowers, kinds I'd never seen before.
When did these get here?
They were probably always there, you just didn't see them. Last night was just so dark. Were they here? No, they just sprung up overnight. Surprise flowers! They could have been, but isn't it a little strange for them to be around me in a circle? Just fallen in between them all. So they're just around him in just a circle. That's weird. I let out a sigh.
What's with all of these strange things happening to me?
The weird pain I had in the town square just yesterday. The dreams that I can only half remember. Not to mention the markings on my arm. Oh, this CG is beautiful. The art in this game is spectacular. I raised my arm up to the sky, inspecting it closely in the sunlight. I traced the symbols gently with my fingertips.
It's definitely the same symbols from the book I brought with me. What is it trying to tell me?
You should ask it. I absent-mindedly played with the flowers that surrounded me whilst recalling the events of yesterday.
I need to find someone that can read these markings. But there's no way I'll be able to sneak back into Aurelia Cavella.
I pulled the book out and flicked through some of the other pages. Most of them were readable, but relatively unimportant. Charts, lists, budgets. But these 2 pages, the royal bloodline, and the one that matched my markings, written in an unknown language. I looked back at the family tree. Everyone knows the monarchy unexpectedly ended 20 years ago, but the reasons why weren't widely known or disclosed. I checked over the names of the kids. The kids again. I checked over the names again. King Shion of Sidcaeum. What is this Sidcaeum? Why does the bloodline only start 500 years ago? And then Prince Caspian, the final name, 37 years ago. You think the prince from Narnia?
He could still be alive. He might be able to tell me what this marking means. If only I knew where he was.
Wait a second. There's a signature at the bottom. I think it says Lucius. I suddenly realized how hungry I was. I guess the last time I ate any food was yesterday. I tried to swallow, but my throat felt all dry and scratchy. I'm seriously thirsty. I searched my pockets, but I didn't have anything to eat on me. Finally, I got up and stretched my shoulders out. I'd give anything to sleep on a bed instead of the ground again. First task today, find water.
Easier said than done.
Good survival skills though. Find water, find high ground, find shelter. I glanced at the trees around me, but I had no clue which way I came last night. I'll just pick a direction and hope for the best. I brushed off the dirt on my clothes and started my hike to find water. By now, the sun was high above, shining brightly. It warmed my chilled body and calmed my mind. Compared to last night, the forest wasn't even half as terrifying. Sunlight filtered through the green leaves above, leaving interesting patterns all over the ground. Moss grew over the tree trunks and roots, making everything look fuzzy and warm. But I could hear the faint tweeting of birds up in the canopy. Yeah, okay, mini stroke there. Instead of scary, it actually looked kind of beautiful. Interesting that he thinks moss looks warm. Moss always gives me the feeling of just damp. The only sound I could hear was my own breathing, and twigs breaking under my boots. It was peaceful, even serene, when the sun was up. Without noticing, I was slowing my pace, taking in the scenery and enjoying the atmosphere. Everything that happened last night felt like a dream. Wildflowers littered the ground while I was walking, so I tried to avoid stepping on them. I leant down and picked one to bring with me. I kept walking at my own pace like this for a while, before I was hit with a foul stench that quickly overpowered the fresh smell of the flower in my hand. It was kind of like off meat mixed with something sickeningly sweet. I kept walking and it kept getting stronger.
What is that?
What indeed? In the distance, I could see some kind of clothing jutted out from under the bush. The closer I got, the more overpowering the smell was. Oh, you don't want to look at that, baby boy. It looked like some sort of knapsack. Could there be food in there? Water? Something I could use out here? I tried to pull it out from under the bushes, but it must have been stuck in the branches. I grabbed on with both my hands and gave one big pull.
Whoa!
Oh, that was a sloppy sound. It came out easily when I used all my weight. but I pulled so hard I fell backwards onto my butt. He fell over again. Count in this game how many times Rain falls over. The smell was suddenly so sickening I couldn't help but gag. When I looked down at my lap, the knapsack sat between my legs and I could feel something wet touching my leg. I reached down to grab it. Ooh, don't do that. Whatever it was stone cold and slightly damp. What is that? I held my breath, but the stench completely overwhelmed my senses.
3, 2, 1.
Slowly, I wrapped my hand around it, and with a final surge of courage, I pulled it into view. No. I could feel all the blood instantly drain from my face. I threw it as far as I could, but I could still see it poking out from the bushes. I scrambled away as fast as possible, trying to put some distance between myself and that thing.
No. No. No.
This isn't happening. I turned away quickly and my stomach lurched. The bag wasn't stuck in the bushes, it was stuck in someone's arms. And I'd just pulled one right off. I brought my hand to my chest, the feeling of my heartbeat on my palm, the only thing making this feel real. I gagged again, this time much more violently than before. It was just lucky my stomach was still empty. There's no way. This couldn't be happening to me. Just yesterday I was living a normal life, safe and happy. How did it come to this? I glanced back in the direction I threw it. It hadn't moved. Well, I would hope it hadn't moved. Jesus! If it had moved, you better run! An arm. A decomposing human arm. Who would be out here? I can't think of anyone wanting to leave Aurelia Cavella. No one leaves. I've never heard of anyone else being expelled. Then, have others also been outcast like I was? How long had that body been here? Another wave of nausea washed over me. I could feel the moisture on my hand. The slimy mucus left a brown sludge all over my palms. Ew. I rubbed my hands on the ground until they were red raw, but the stains weren't going anywhere. Why won't it come off?
Get off! Please, get off!
I scrubbed and scrubbed, and even though you couldn't see it anymore, I could still feel it. It felt disgusting. The pangs of hunger I felt only a few minutes ago were completely gone. Oh, well, that's one way to make you not hungry anymore. Thank God I hadn't eaten anything yet. Thank the gods I hadn't eaten anything yet. I would have instantly lost it. I couldn't move. There had to be a reason it was out here so far from Aurelia Cavella, but why? Who? No. What could have done this to them? Interesting that they had a bag with them, though. Like, he doesn't have a bag. If they were exiled, surely they just would have been turfed out too, like he was. Not, go pack a bag. Did someone run away? Is that what that was? To have a knapsack? Was someone trying to get in from somewhere else, maybe? Almost made it. I glanced back towards the bushes from behind my bangs. What? Oh. Bangs. Does that mean fringe? His fringe? His hairy face. I don't understand fringe. I don't understand bangs. It's always been fringe to me. If there were arms, what about the rest of them? Wait, there's just arms sticking out of a tree. Did the tree eat him? I don't want to find out.
I have to get out of here!
Yeah, go. I leapt back to my feet, spun around and sped away, giving no notice to the knapsack I left on the grass. running noises.
How long have I been running?
I could still feel it. When I looked down at my hands, there was nothing, but I could still feel it. No matter where I looked, I felt like they were still there, almost watching me. The sound it made when I ripped the bag from the bushes, it echoed through my mind.
Wait, what's that?
Is that water? I could definitely hear a faint trickling nearby. I quickened my pace and burst out from the trees in a flurry of leaves.
Water!
So pretty. I was met with a river. On both sides of the bank were littered with a colourful array of trash, clothing, and various odds and ends. Oh, it's a gutter river. I barely noticed though. All that matters is that I could get clean and drink. Oh! Suddenly he's nude. Naked. Without any thought, I kicked off my clothes and stripped down to my underwear as I ran towards the water's edge. It's got a thing for purple, little eggplant boy. I launched myself from the bank directly into the river. Who cares about wet underwear? The shallow water came up to my waist. It was... Look over to the left side. You don't... nothing... Yeah, suddenly, he's being creeped on. I don't think you're alone. It was cool and refreshing against my sweaty skin. Finally, water. I kept scrubbing at my arms, hands and legs until they felt red raw. It felt like I was rubbing away the memories from earlier. Once I was satisfied with that, I moved on to my hair. The sweat and grease from yesterday was building up already. You can't just wet your hair and then fix everything.
That feels better already.
My head instantly whipped up towards the opposite bank. What? He's been noticed! Good chat. On the opposite bank stood a young man, blue-haired with a completely dumbfounded look on his face. His arms were full of a multitude of items. Before I could open my mouth, he turned and ran.
Wait!
I bolted back from my clothes and took off in the same direction I last saw the boy. Wait, you didn't put your clothes on before chasing someone through the woods? As I ran, I could still hear the distinct sound of leaves and sticks crunching in front of me. At least that means he's not far. The ground here looked like it had been used all the time. It formed what could almost be called a path. He must come this way a lot. Between the trees, I caught a brief glimpse of his blue locks. Soon, more of his figure came into view as I gained on him. Ooh, Rain's a fast boy.
Hey, wait, please!
He obviously wasn't going to wait. He's getting closer. He was close enough now that I could almost touch him. I reached out to grab him, but only managed to brush my fingertips down his back. To slightly caress him. This might be my only chance. I couldn't risk him getting away. With the last of my energy, I leapt towards him.
Got you!
Yeah, you did.
I said wait!
I tackled the boy to the ground and held him there, my arms either side of his head. My lungs burnt from the chase. The boy below me looked terrified. His body was shaking underneath mine.
I'm not going to hurt you.
Says the half-naked man who just tackled the the frightened boy. CG is beautiful though.
I just want to talk.
Says the half-naked man who just tackled the boy. He suddenly turned bright red. He wasn't looking at my face though. What are you looking at? When I followed his gaze, he was looking somewhere lower. Wow, wow. Not even X-rated yet. When I realized I hadn't gotten dressed yet.
I didn't. I mean...
I love that these two conversations, they just kind of grunted each other for a while. I could finally see the boy up close. His pale blue hair was feathered around him, and his silvery eyes were wide and scared. When his lips trembled, he looks like he could cry at any moment. He seemed fragile, breakable. His face was slowly getting wetter the longer I leant my soggy hair over him.
I'm so sorry.
Oh.
Are you hungry?
Stomach noises are so gross.
Yeah.
I quickly got off him and put my clothes on. And picked my clothes up, cradling them to my chest.
I'm going to put my clothes back on, so don't go anywhere, please.
The other boy got up slowly, keeping his eyes on the ground and nodding his head slightly. I turned around and slid my clothes back on as fast as I could. I fumbled a while trying to tie my shoes up. I half expected the blue-haired boy to be gone when I turned around, but he wasn't.
I'm done now. Listen, I'm sorry for jumping on you like that. I'm not trying to hurt you, but you're the only person I've seen alive out here. My name's Rain.
How you know he didn't have anything to do with Gooey back there? I reached my hand out towards him. He looked down at my open palm and hesitated. But eventually he took my hand and shook it.
Fawn.
Fawn?
My name.
Oh, Fawn. It's nice to meet you.
The items that previously were held tightly in his arms were scattered. Oh, that's right. Were scattered over the ground. Thrown up in the air when I tackled him. I forgot that he was carrying things when he got tackled. Help him pick them up. Wait for him to finish collecting his things. Wow. Help them pick him up. You're the one who made him drop them in the first place. I instantly bent down and helped him pick up his things. There were clothes in a rainbow of colors, strange ornaments, glasses without lenses, and an array of random junk. Oh, the glasses without lenses aren't part of the array of random junk? When I handed them back to him, he smiled at me with a tinted red face.
Oh, thank you.
So, what are all of these things?
These? They're from my personal collection.
Hoarder. He found a hoarder in the forest. His eyes suddenly lit up.
You want to see? Oh, I mean, I have food and water back at my house that I could share with you.
Really? Are you sure?
My hunger and thirst from earlier had returned with a vengeance. I'm starving.
Yeah, there's enough for both of us.
With his arms full of items to add to his collection, he turned around and started walking. I guess he wanted me to follow after him? I jogged up to walk beside him.
So, Fawn, you live here in the forest?
Oh, yeah, not far from here. Not by myself, though. I live with a bunch of my friends.
Really? You all live out here together? For how long?
I love Fawn's voice too. He's really, really good. It suits him so well. He stopped for a couple of seconds before speaking again. He seemed pretty deep in thought.
A while now.
Helpful.
Why did you leave Aurelia Cavella when the divine beings don't protect the outside land?
What?
What?
The speaker says it's too dangerous to even enter the forest, let alone live here. How did you get here?
A speaker? Aurelia Cavella? Are you talking about the town to the west of here? Across the river?
Fawn looked at me a little, obviously confused by what I was saying.
You don't know the speaker?
I've never been there before, so...
Wait, so you were born out here?
No. I came here as a child.
What's up with this guy? Maybe he's delusional for being out here for so long. It's fine. He's just a Disney princess.
Right.
It's fine.
Sure.
I just let it go. It was obvious Fawn didn't know exactly what he was talking about. Alright, Judgy. I think you're the foreigner here. Not him. He knows what's going on. Before I could ask anything else, we stopped in front of a tall tree with a rope ladder hanging down from it. When I looked up, I could see a small wooden hut set into the trunk.
You live in a tree?
It's safer to be up high during the night.
He's so judgmental here. You're in a strange forest. Whoopsie.
It's safer to be up high during the night.
Judging the locals. Rude. He gave me a soft smile while he loaded a bag full of his new items and slung it across his back. I couldn't help but think about the knapsack from earlier. Best to try and forget about it. Fawn started climbing up the ladder with ease and waved at me from the top.
I guess it's my turn.
I grabbed onto the ladder and climbed up after him.
Wow.
Wow, indeed, I agree. Look at this background, it is amazing. I like to try and pick out all the stuff from it, like, sometime. Like, what is that doll? Why does he have a doll hanging from a hook? Fawn, what are you doing? One random shoe? When I came up the ladder and into Fawn's tree, it also looks much bigger on the inside. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It consisted of only one room with a makeshift bed, a couple of chairs, and many other random bits of furniture. That's not what impressed me though.
You collected all of this from the riverbank?
Look at him, he looks so happy.
Yes. I've been collecting it all slowly over time.
He looked so happy with my reaction. The whole room was filled with different colored glass, cloth, old books, all manner of items. It all blended together to become something that looked magical. Even though it was all abandoned, thrown together items, there was something homely about it. Fawn was busy scurrying around the room, putting things away and dusting. I watched the light trickle in from outside. It went through the colored glass, making the floor look like a rainbow. When he'd finished that, he dug around in some baskets before presenting me with a bowl of mixed fruits and nuts and a cup full of water. My hunger and thirst from earlier came back with full force. I greedily ate the food and guzzled down the water, all while Fawn sat on the opposite side of the room, watching me. He had an inquisitive look in his eyes. He kind of reminded me of the kids back in the orphanage. He obviously wanted to say something.
You're the first person I've ever seen out here, and I've lived here for a very long time.
I thought you lived with friends, though.
Oh, my friends are actually...
Before he could finish speaking, a rustling sound came from outside. And It was slowly getting closer. Closer until...
Ah!
Sugar glider! Oh, okay. I jumped out of my seat. In the door came a fox, a raccoon, 2 birds, and a few animals I'd never seen before.
Guys, you're back.
Is that a fox? How did the fox get... I didn't know foxes could climb. I looked over at Fawn. Obviously, this didn't surprise him. He bent down and pet all the animals, giving them nuts and berries as he went. I couldn't help but stare at the soft smile he had on his face.
Rain, these are my friends. We've lived together. I'm sorry they gave you a fright. I'll tell them to come in quietly next time.
That's not really the problem, I guess.
He bent down further and started whispering to them.
You can talk to them?
Of course. Sometimes they don't do what I tell them, though. They must be going through a rebellious phase.
Ah, so he can't talk to them then. I didn't say anything though. There's no point upsetting him.
Then I really am the only person you've seen out here. You've been alone since you were a child?
Yes. I'm sorry I ran from you. I didn't know what to do when I saw you at the river. And it takes me a bit to think through what I'm saying in my head. I'm not used to talking to other people.
I looked at the floor in embarrassment when I remembered jumping on him wet and nearly naked.
In the forest, I saw an arm. A dead body. I had to wash it off of myself.
I glanced back up at Fawn.
I spent the night running and then slept under a tree. I have absolutely no clue where I am. I don't know how you can live here. It's terrifying.
He stayed silent for a few seconds. I guess he was thinking through what he was going to say.
I can see why you would think that. The forest around here is dangerous, but
He stopped for a moment.
it can be beautiful too. The beauty is hiding danger, but the danger is also hiding beauty.
I stared at him. Earlier, I did think it was beautiful for a while. So maybe he's right. Still, I would much rather be back in Aurelia Cavella.
I see what you mean, but I'm not looking forward to spending another night out there. I wish there was somewhere else to go.
Fawn tilted his head.
There's a bunch of places you could go. Oxaber, Stagwitch, Duskmoor, Sidcaeum, Duick. They're all pretty close to here. The last time I checked anyway.
My ears perked up at one of the things Fawn's mentioned.
Sidcaeum? What is that?
It's the... what do you call it? The capital?
The capital? The capital of what?
Of the region, I suppose.
Honestly, I had no clue what he was blathering about. Capital of the region? What region? Ooh, wow, that got dark very quickly. Outside, the sun was slowly disappearing and the night was filling up with stars. I stared outside for a moment, dreading going back. Last night, it was terrifying. But what choice do I have?
I guess I better head off now, before it gets too dark to see where I'm going. Thank you for the food and water. I don't know what I would have done without you there.
I got up slowly and made my way towards the ladder.
Wait!
My hand was suddenly clasped from behind before I could start climbing down.
Why don't you stay here tonight?
Really? Would that be okay?
Yeah, my bed's only small, but I can sleep on the floor tonight.
Oh, no, I couldn't. You take the bed. I'm happy to sleep on the floor. It's much better than outside like last night.
Really, I don't mind.
We both looked at each other for a moment before breaking out into laughter. This could go back and forth forever between the two of us.
How about we just share the bed then? I think we'd both fit.
Fawn lit up again, as red as a rose.
I've never...
He glanced away, not making eye contact with me, fidgeting and playing with his clothes.
shared a bed with anyone before.
I love how the sugar glider is still just kind of chilling. Just, it flies. Was there something to be embarrassed about? Oh, maybe he's worried that I'll push him out of bed.
Don't worry. I'll make sure not to take up too much room.
It's definitely worried about being pushed out of bed, Rain. It's definitely what
I
he's
grew up
worried
in an
about.
orphanage, so I'm used to sharing beds and stuff.
At the word orphanage, he stopped and looked into my eyes.
You didn't know your parents?
No. Did you?
Ooh. Soft spot? He looked away again.
No.
He didn't look like he wanted to talk about it, so I didn't press him.
I'm not mad at my parents or anything, though. I had a good family at the orphanage. The judgment I received wasn't particularly good, so
What is
that's
his judgment?
probably why it happened.
What is his judgment? He keeps saying that his judgment wasn't good. But does he ever say what his judgment actually is that he was given? To make it... What makes a judgment bad?
Judgment?
We both shared another confused look. Had being out here alone really made him forget the most simple things?
Yeah, you know. The judgment you receive the day you're born from the Divine Speaker. My fate wasn't very impressive, apparently.
You learn your fate the day you're born?
Of course. Everyone does.
They don't do that where I'm from.
Yeah, definitely a little confused. Yeah, I'm sure it's
if you're
him
not
that's confused
tired,
here.
There's something I'd like to show you.
I'm feeling a little tired, honestly. But if he's letting me stay here tonight, then I don't mind following him around for a while.
Sure. I'm not tired anyway.
His face lit up with a wide, innocent smile filled with incitement.
It's not that far from here. Follow me.
Vaughn basically bounced out of the room, down the ladder and onto the forest floor. I followed after him, not quite as sure where this was headed. I followed Fawn for a few minutes before he stopped in his tracks and peered out between the trees.
We're here. Follow me carefully.
I would be very suspicious right now if I was Rain. He started climbing down the shallow slope with ease. I watched him for a moment, but came to the conclusion that it didn't look too difficult. Apparently, I was very wrong.
What?
Is his fate just that he is doomed to be clumsy for his entire life? The ground slipped out from under me, rocks rolling down the slope. Before I could slip over, Fawn reached out and grabbed my hand.
Careful! It can be a little slippery here.
Oopsie. I watched the ground more carefully this time, embarrassed that I'd slip up after he warned me. With Fawn's hand strong against mine, we descended slowly, and we eventually got to the bottom of the steep hill.
It's here. Look.
He parted the last of the tree branches that stood in our way. The scene before me was right out of a fairy tale. The large lake was spread out in front of my eyes, the night sky brimming with stars as far as I could see. The darkness of the night, the lake became a mirror. It reflected those stars right back at the sky, not to be outdone.
It's beautiful.
The color of the water is spectacular.
I've never seen anything like it. Back home,
So pretty.
I never would have known this existed.
A million words spun around in my mind, but I didn't know where to start. Who knew something like this could exist? I sat down with Fawn, entranced by the scene laid out before me.
I thought you might like it.
Look at that water though, it's so pretty. This is one of my favorite CGs that I've seen for the game so far.
You see, this lake's full of all kinds of fish. Mostly the kind that would like to eat you for dinner.
He giggled a little, that joy-filled smile returning to his face.
But that doesn't stop it from being beautiful. The world isn't just black and white. There's things in the middle, too. And I think this forest is one of those things. You didn't look very convinced earlier, so I just wanted to show you that even a dangerous place like this can be somewhere you can call home. It's all about how you look at it, your perspective on things.
Look at that face! Look at Rain's face there. He quickly withdrew his hand from mine. I forgot he was even holding it.
This is a pretty big lake, though. It's strange that it's not on the map.
I haven't seen a map in a while, so I'm not sure.
He was crimson red from the top of his ears to his chin, like a tomato. Silently, we sat side by side. We watched the fish just below the surface. The stars that almost seemed to dance around us. But secretly, I watched Fawn's profile. The moon made his pale skin look even paler, as if he were glowing. That is not secretly. You are flirtatiously staring at him, boy. Maybe it's a strange thought, but it was almost as if he was part of the forest. He fit in perfectly. As much as the trees, the fish, the stars, he belonged. When he caught me staring, he looked away in embarrassment.
Anyway, let's head back now. It'll start to get cold soon.
Right. I'll try not to slip over this time.
He's flirting. As soon as we got back, a wave of exhaustion passed over me. Without delay, I started preparing for bed. Everything caught up to me at once. It really had been a long day. I rolled up my sleeve and looked again at the markings that ran down my arm. I suppose there's no point in hiding it from there, is there? He's bound to find out one way or another, and I felt like I could trust him.
Hey, Fawn?
He looked over at me with sleepy eyes.
I wanted to show you something. Yesterday, when I was still in Aurelia Cavella, it suddenly appeared on my arm. It hurt, like it was being burnt into my skin.
I lifted my arm and showed it to him.
This? I've seen this writing somewhere before.
With speed, he rushed to my side and grabbed my arm. He brought it closer, examining my markings.
Before it was here, I've definitely seen this somewhere.
I watched him excitedly, but to no avail. No matter how hard he thought, it wasn't coming back to him.
I'm sorry. How did it happen?
I'm not sure. One minute I was in a crowd of people completely fine, and then I was suddenly in so much pain, I blacked out. And when I woke up, it was there. Maybe it's not important.
He watched me carefully, thinking.
It sounds important to me. I'll keep thinking about it. Maybe it'll come back to me in the morning, after we rest. Turn around while I get ready for bed.
Fawn got into bed first and hid himself under the covers quickly. I shuffled in next to him. It was a tight squeeze, seeing as the bed was only made for a single person, but we had enough space to avoid touching. I scooted over further, giving him more room.
Why are you out here anyway?
Fawn glances at me over his shoulder, back still facing me.
They.
I tried to think of an excuse. Anything would do, really. But there wasn't any to give.
I got exiled. I went somewhere I shouldn't have gone.
Read a book, got tossed out of the city.
Honestly, I thought I'd be dead by now. We've always had it drilled into us that you can't survive out here. But for some reason, it's not quite as bad as I thought it would be.
Fawn smiled at me sleepily, before turning back over and drifting off to sleep. It didn't take long for me to follow after him.
Open your eyes. Protect. Heal. Destiny. Open your eyes. Open your eyes.
Wake up, dummy! I woke up with a start, sweating and shaking. My heart was beating hard in my chest, the sound echoing through my head. Aww, you scared Fawn. Fawn sat up at the speed of light, jumping to his feet.
What is it?
I took a moment to calm my breath, waiting for it to return to normal.
No, nothing. I just had a weird dream. I keep having the same one.
Oh my gosh. I thought you were dying or we were being attacked or something. But what happened in your dreams to scare you so much?
What part was scary? I thought back over it carefully. A booming voice, darkness all around me. I'm not exactly sure it was scary to begin with, but every time they seem to get more powerful.
I don't really know. There's voices. Loud, powerful, booming voices. They keep telling me something. To open my eyes about destiny.
Vaughn stopped for a minute. Like he does occasionally when he's thinking about what to say.
Maybe it means something? It could be some kind of vision.
Vision? Things like that don't exist, though.
Really? I've heard there are some people with strange abilities, so I don't see how having visions is much different.
But we've always been taught that... Just forget it. I'm sure they don't mean anything.
Quickly
I'm
learning
sorry.
that what he was
right.
taught means
I
nothing.
was just thinking out loud.
You know, you don't need to apologize so much. Especially not for talking. You didn't do anything wrong.
You're right. I'm sorry. I mean... Okay.
Vaughn quickly busied himself, moving around the room and preparing food. I looked outside. The sun was just starting to show in the distance, so it was still early. A light mist spread out through the trees. We ate more scavenged food and watched the sun as it rose above us. Something about all this was too normal. Like, I'd spent a lifetime here. The events of a few nights ago seemed so distant. All that exists is now.
Rain, I was thinking. I know we've only just met.
Hey, I just met you, and call me
Would
crazy.
you like to live with me?
But
Here?
here's my treehouse. Stay with me, maybe.
Seriously? You'd let me do that?
Well, I've just been here alone for a long time.
I'm lonely.
I think if you left now, it would start to get a little lonely. I can teach you how to live here. Where to go, where not to go. I'm sorry if that's too forward. We've only just met after all. What am I thinking? Sorry.
Well, it's not like I have anywhere else to go. Like he said, he hasn't seen anyone else out here. Might as well stick together, if he's offering. The doorbell's going off. The only other option would be to wander around alone. I don't ever want a repeat of my first night out here. Alone, cold, scared. Plus, He has the kind of face that makes you want to look after him. Watching him babble like this is kind of endearing.
I would be very happy to stay here with you, if you'll have me.
Really? I was sure you'd say no.
His face brightened up instantly, a smile crossing his lips. He really does want me to stay.
Then how about I show you around a bit today? Only if you want to.
If I'm really going to live here, I'll have to learn my way around. I can't just trail after Fawn forever. He's doing me enough of a favor by letting me stay.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I like that.
I ate the last of the red berries while I got dressed, the sweet taste lingering on my tongue for a while afterwards. Oh, I already have some. I have some saved from the Patreon beta demo. Okay, I think this is round about the point that the original demo ends from memory. Going to Patreon and signing up for I think it's the $25 tier can get you access to beta builds that the developers regularly put out to update the game, and a lot of other updates and special art and polls and other fun things on the Patreon. So we're gonna leave this episode here, and for me it will be immediate. Probably upload them both together as well, but gonna leave it for the original demo here, and then I will continue on to be playing the extended content. See you very shortly.